All right, welcome back to the channel. So I get a few comments on people that are looking into the MPC, or they have gotten already into the MPC. So one of these models that are already out, like the MPC-X or the Keys Live or One. And they ask me questions about either the firmware or about the sounds. And so I kind of want to just address, whenever I talk about cool features and embracing sort of this workflow, there's some context to it that I want to sort of explain, which is this unit really went from sort of back in 2017, the original MPC-X kind of was sort of like that round peg through the square hole, or square peg through the round hole, however you want to look at it. And it wasn't really a home run in the very beginning. As a matter of fact, the MPC-X had kind of sat around for about 5 years. It wasn't really, never really displaced the main way of working, because I was embedded into a long bout with sequencing on logic and external MIDI, and I just kind of took that for granted for what it was. It was actually the best for that time, at least. And then in 2023, when I had to do a sampling of a drum kit, which was the first time really sampling at the time, the light bulb sort of went on, and I started sampling other sounds and realizing that when I got the sounds from external into here, it kind of transformed how I thought about this machine and what the potential actually could be. It wasn't just a non-linear production tool that was an accessory to, the main workflow that I had. It was now becoming something with a lot more potential than that, almost like with the glass ceiling, if you will, with the potential being unlimited. And so realize this was the MPC-X at the time, or the MPC Live back then. So still same hardware. The current generation of hardware that's released now, which is still available right now. And then what ended up happening is all the muscle memory that I built and the effort to memorize the features and getting into the features of the MPC became more meaningful for me. In other words, because I knew the project was not going to just start and then have to be finished somewhere else. It could start and pretty much end within this workflow. So it was no longer sort of a temporary way to kick the tires, if you will. All right. And so then it went up an extra notch. Once I started doing the expansions like you see here, and building these expansions, the integration and then the process of the machine, this particular machine itself, became so much more like unified, where it feels like there's nothing I really can't do within the style of music that I actually make. All right, and so that became almost as one. Now, it got amplified a little bit more by the 3.0 firmware. While I'm here to say that 3.0 firmware is not really near what I call finalized to where the Gold Master is going to get released to the general public for everyone. We're still in beta testing mode, but I like a lot of what I've seen up to now. And a lot of the features that really are in here, with the exception of two actually that I can think of right now, are really just embellishments on features that already existed in MPC 2. It just actually became more intuitive in how they're implemented. In other words, loading a sound becomes more of a forward motion execution than it was in 2.0, for example. All right, and so, but the true key was getting these sounds into here. So I'm always saying that in context, so that when I talk about this machine being really good and the best thing in the studio, it doesn't necessarily really mean that, because out of the box, they don't have the sounds that I had created. And without the sounds that I have in here, I wouldn't really be using this machine. I wouldn't look at the machine in the same way. All right, so let's just kind of go through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play. Alright, so that's an example of a sound that I did. Silver stacks. And what ends up happening is once you have everything in here, things start to become more controllable. They're integrated within the user interface. Like here's the mixer, for example, and I can go into here. All right, and they're all integrated within this particular experience. Now, the difference between having a Kronos, for example, which is a fantastic keyboard, or a Montage M, which is fantastic, is that because the sampler is part of the base core of this instrument, it doesn't matter where your sound came from. Like if I wanted a Yamaha style sound, I can have that. Now, if I wanted a Korg style sound, I might not be able to get that in the Montage, for example, where this is sort of a blank slate. And because the expansion pack system, it starts out with 0 sounds, and whatever you decide to put in there, it becomes customized and boutique for you. You no longer have to worry about starting with like 87,000 sounds like incomplete, and then you have to kind of narrow those decisions down as you're starting to create. That's a creative killer, having to do that. Going into a plugin that might actually have 3,000 synth bases. Who wants that? Or I can just go into here and pull up a synth bass, for example. Like, let's go into here. I can pull up synth bass. Like if I want to put an electric bass, they're here. If I had to pull up a guitar, they're here. And I just load it in. If I find a sound that I like and I want to load it, for example, this sound, I just load it and it automatically populates. Now I'm in 3.0 now, as I said. It automatically populates it into an empty track with the name on it. Here it is. Right? And it becomes part of the collection of sounds that you can draw from, and it's tied into a track already. So if I go into here, and this is a 1-bar measure. And if I want to just go into percussion suite, and you're off to the races. And if you like it, you record it. And you just become one with the process. And then mixing, you no longer have to go to a mixing board. It's just right here. Your pans and mutes. Or if you want a tactile, just hit the solo when you're on the button. Or if you want to solo so many different tracks at one time, you just hit the shift like this, and we'll do the ultra. The thing is, with the arranger mode now, so I'm in the percussion suite, I can change that and look at it and address it like this. Okay, and so the process just becomes integrated, but not as integrated as if you were using a workstation, because you can get your sounds from all different sources and so forth. And that's what made this pretty much the piece that sort of engulfed the process that I had for years. I'm talking about since 97. And this really single-handedly, with the sampling of sounds, has taken over pretty much everything. And the cool thing about it is that the firmware is still yet to be developed, and better things will come along the road. And so, who knows what the future holds? I do expect the MPC 3.0 DAW to be released about the time when the Gold Master gets released for the firmware. I do believe that there's quite a ways to go, so I wouldn't expect to see anything until next year. And I also believe that perhaps new hardware, whether the level I'm at with composition arranging and for the kind of music that I produce will warrant a need for a new piece of hardware that's more capable, that yet remains to be seen. In other words, I'm really close to being pretty good with what I have right now. As a matter of fact, if you have an older MPC, like an MPC that's released now, I'm talking about like something that you can buy now, like the MPC X, the one, the Live, you can get the RAM retrofitted, you can get that upgraded so that you'll have the 4 gigs of RAM, and that will help you in terms of sound expansions, and you'll be able to load more sounds in the session and so forth. It really 2 gigabytes actually goes a long ways, by the way. So you can do a lot with the 3.0 firmware when it comes out, and by upgrading those older machines to more RAM, you can send it out, and there's a company out there that will do it. And then if you're interested in expansions, like I did, the ones I did here, I have a website. You can go to the store. You can buy the bundle. It's actually on sale right now during the holiday season. And there's demos on there to check out. And you can always leave any questions or comments below. And until next time, everyone, peace out.